Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
Welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee, and we have a very, very special guest. We have Sergeant Owen Morrissey of a police department in the local area. We want to give that town away. Owen, an avid listener of the Herd Fit Podcast.
I am.
Now you're a guest on it. You made it in life, bro.
I know. I feel good. I'm excited.
Owen, thanks for coming on. And we are going to kind of dive into what you just did. I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of just tell the audience what you did. But before I get into that, I want to give you a little some backstory on Owen. Owen arrived at Bison he's like one of our OG members. And he came to the gym as Fat Owen.
Yeah.
that was the name. So he came in as a police officer, and you never know what you're going to get with these guys. Police officers are sometimes like the biggest meatheads that come in here, and there's also some police officers that haven't worked out since they've been at the academy.
Correct.
So Owen comes in, and he's somewhere in the middle. And I would say if I had to list 10 guys that changed their body the most through CrossFit in a pretty short amount of time, Owen's on the list. He might be at the top of the list, to be honest. When you look at some of the old pictures of Owen, you're like, people that now know him are like, who is that?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's that guy. So yeah. Owen is a really good classic example, kidding aside, of someone that came in kind of on the out of shape side and worked his butt off. He was always the hardest worker in the room. That's one thing that was a constant from him, no matter what the workout was, whether he crushed it or got crushed. He was always the hardest worker in the room. And it's a good example for everyone that's listening and just watching him kind of walk the walk, that it really is that simple. You come in and work your tail off, you're going to see massive results. And Owen, over the years, had developed a friendship with him. Got to go to his wedding last night. Beautiful wife. They're still married, right?
Yes.
All right, good.
Yeah.
And they started to live their life together. It's gonna be fun to follow them and what they do, because it sounds like he's gonna have about 8 or 9 kids in the next few years.
That's what she thinks. Yeah. So.
Come from the guy that has pink eye right now, and I'm gonna just give him some advice on enjoy it while you can. That's just the two of you. But Owen came up to me months ago and pulled me aside. And I've been in this business long enough that I'm like, oh boy, something's going to happen. One of them is usually I'm pregnant. Owen's fortunately not pregnant, so that wasn't that. The other side of it is usually I'm moving. That like when I have a serious conversation with someone that, hey, can we talk for a second? It's usually something like that, or I'm injured. Owen, who has been a staple at Bison for a really long time, one of the guys that when he walks in the gym, people notice, they say hi. He's great, great personality to be around, but he also adds a lot to a class when he's in it, just the effort, intensity. And he goes, hey, I'm really going to pursue a marathon. And I was like, dude, that is awesome. Like we'll get into Owen as an athlete a little bit, I'm sure. But Owen is he is a runner. There's CrossFit runners, and then there's Owen type runners, where it never slows down, whether it's 200 meters or 1,000 meters. Mid-workout, end of workout, beginning of workout. He's just always running hard, always running fast. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. He goes, but no, really, I'm going to go all in on this. Like, I'm going to hire a coach, and I'm probably going to be running 40, 60 miles a week, and it's going to mean a lot less CrossFit for me. And I, as a gym owner, as a coach, as a friend, had zero hesitation. I'm like, dude, that's the way to do it. Is if you're really going to pursue something at a high level, I'm going to let Owen get into what his goals were. I don't want to spoil that. But the goal that he was pursuing is unbelievably difficult, like top 2% in the world difficult. And, you have to go all in on that. It can't be something that you do on the side. So he, was almost upset when he told me, it's like, it's going to be a lot less CrossFit for me, a lot less Bison. And I had no hesitation in saying, this is the way to do it. And I'm not, I've always been that guy as a coach, as an owner. I was like, I am not CrossFit or die. I never have been. And I think that if you have a serious goal like that, if that means you need to take a step away, like if you're really going to go after something hard, there will be sacrifices made. And Owen sacrificed something he really loved to pursue this goal. So Owen, give us a little feedback, give us a little backstory on what you pursued, where you pursued it, when you did it, what happened.
So my goal was to run a sub 3-hour marathon, which is roughly a 6:52 pace for the whole marathon. I it kind of goes back to COVID, really, because when COVID hit, when the gym shut down, I really started running a lot. And that's when I kind of just started feeling like a runner, because I never really felt like a runner. I felt like I was good at running, but I never felt like I fit in with runners. So COVID, I really started running a lot, and I really, 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 really loved it. Then the gym opened back up, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to CrossFit. You know what I mean? Because I love this place, and I love CrossFit. Like, so that I was, I went right back to the gym. Then in September, last September, my wife
2021 not this
yeah
past
2021.
Yep.
My wife and my two friends were running the Jersey City half marathon, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll do that. So I signed up for it, and I ran like 2 or 3 times, and I ran that in 1 hour and 28 minutes.
That's so amazing, by the way.
So, so then after that, I'm like, you know what? Like, because the sub 3 hour thing was in my head for years.
Yeah, where did that come from?
I don't know. I was just, it happened during COVID. I was following like runners on Instagram and stuff like that. And I was like, that would be so cool to do, because sub 3 hours from the ages of 18 to 35 for men gets you into Boston. So that was like my main motivation. That was the goal.
That's where the 3 hour number came from. Some inspiration from others, but also there is an objective goal that comes from being sub 3.
Yeah, so that qualifies you for Boston.
Wow.
So I ran the half marathon, and I ran it in 1:28, and I really didn't train for it. So I was really happy about it, but I didn't really think anything of it. And then a couple of my friends were like, if you really put the time in, you might be able to do this. So a couple more months went by, and I got married in October. And then I was like, I think I'm gonna try to do this, and I did it with one of my best friends. So then I hired a coach in November, and started from there.
Can you give the coach a shout out?
Hillary Schmidt. She is she's like a freak Ironman. She knows Reno, actually.
Okay, figures.
Yeah. So she was awesome. I was texting her constantly. She was great.
Is she local, or is she a remote coach?
I think she lives in South Jersey. Everything was through this app called Training Peaks.
Okay.
And like we would, text and phone calls and things like that.
Cool. So you had this 3 hour goal. Boston Marathon is the prize if you get to that goal. You start really training for it. Was it right after the wedding? October, November?
It was pretty much right after the wedding, yeah.
Okay. So we're sitting here in April, so about 6 months ago. And did you have a race already lined up for that goal?
Yeah, so me and my friend picked the one we did. It was called the Cheap Marathon in New Hampshire. We picked it because it's a small race, and unlike regular marathons, they started 2 people at a time every 7 seconds. So there's no like huge crowd you're trying to get around.
That's intense.
And it was a smaller course. It's a Boston qualifier course, meaning it's properly, measured out and things like that.
Got it.
So that's the one we picked, and that's the one we did. It was a great race, honestly. It was awesome.
What was the weather like?
It was pretty perfect. I think it was like in the morning it was high 40s, and I think when the race started it was low 50s.
Okay, so that's something I would want to think about a little bit is if I make a goal and I start training for it in November and I live in the Northeast, did you think at all that, we had a pretty mild winter, so that probably helped out a little bit with training.
It did.
Did all of your training, was it outdoor running? And where was it?
So, the one thing, I think the biggest struggle for me, a lot was mental, because all of it was outside, and a lot of it was done at like 4:45 in the morning. So
where?
I would do
pavement running on the roads.
Pavement running. I would do at least 2 track workouts a week. I think I used the treadmill when we were on our honeymoon. I ran on the treadmill, and I used the treadmill once. It was like 8 degrees outside, and I called Fitness 19. I said, I need to use your treadmill. I think I paid them like $20 when I went and used the treadmill. But other than that, it was all outside.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, it was. We had a mild winter, but there were days where I would wake up at 4:30. Get to the track at 4:40 in Waldwick, start running by 4:50, run 10 miles on the track, and then and then have to go to work at 6:15. I never want to go to the track. Like, again, I'm going to end up doing it, but
You don't ever want to look at the track again.
yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it was just a lot. Everything was pretty much outside.
So tell me about the mental struggles here, because CrossFit, you're very used to crowds, your friends going after it, knowing that it'll pretty much never be more than 20 minutes. I do think you are one of few, though, that have the mental trait that is required to train for a marathon, because you are very mentally tough. You are someone that gets the most out of their body every single time you work out. And I think that's a trait. Can you touch on a little bit, CrossFitter here talking, that the mental training that you do get in CrossFit, whether it's a snatch day, a handstand push-up day, Cindy, Murph, those kinds of workouts, do you develop mental traits that helps you train for something like a marathon where you are by yourself? I mean, and I want to touch on the good and bad here, right? The good is, would love to hear it, but also the bad of, do you think it's possible to get too reliant on other people? Was there any kind of learning curve there?
There was, yeah. It's a lonely training cycle because you're by yourself, and you go on these long runs, you do these speed workouts, and nobody cares.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
right.
you guys have talked about it on the podcast probably 100 times about the whiteboard and things like that, and I've always loved I think the whiteboard is one of the greatest things because I think it gets people fitter than what they would be if it wasn't there, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because I think everybody, to some level, even if they're looking at one person's score, it's making them work harder,
right,
in a sense. You know what I mean?
And even the fact that, to build on that, the fact that your number's there for others to see, not that you're walking around saying, I hope everyone sees my score today, but the fact that it validates the fact that you were there, you put your effort in, and no matter what, whether you were feeling it or not, that's your number. Imagine you went to a track workout and everyone that went to the track today saw Owen's number up there. Could that add some intensity? And then you could also bring up, is it a bad thing? Do you think was there any time that it took to overcome the fact that no one knew what you were doing? You didn't have anyone else to chase after.
Yeah. Especially at the beginning, so before the marathon, I came to the 5 a.m. sporadically. But the people who do 5 a.m. here, every day, it's insane. It's extremely hard. Yeah. To wake up at 4:30 in the morning and come here every day. I remember there were some mornings where I would wake up and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go to the gym. I'll be around my friends. The music will be playing. You know what I mean? But I just had to remind myself of what I was trying to do. So then I'd be out. It's 25 degrees and I'm by myself and nobody knows and nobody cares. You know what I mean? It's very different.
Sam, any opening thoughts or questions for Sam? Are you pondering running a marathon?
No, I will probably never run a marathon, honestly. But
some of the things that he's saying, what's getting your wheels spinning?
Owen's a unique personality in a lot of ways. I would say, as a CrossFitter, we always say the mind breaks before the body. And he's one of those guys where I literally have seen his body break before his mind. We always say about going dark or sending it, and I have seen Owen do that, honestly, I think harder than maybe you, Dave.
Whoa.
And he's one of those few people that I've seen who routinely can go to that place. And I don't really know what's going on in your mind because it scares me a little bit when you do that. But you are remarkably healthy and mentally reasonable for a person who I've seen do that many, many times. So I figured anyone who would be able to do that in CrossFit would be able to translate that kind of effort and discipline and motivation into something like marathon training.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, the mental traits are there. I think we can all both agree on that, Sam. Physically, though, you're a pretty big dude, especially for a runner, right? Let's get away from the early Bison days of Owen. Once you kind of lost that weight and started to really started to crush workouts, you were never a small guy. I think you're just naturally a thick dude, and you like to lift. You have a lifting background. Yeah. There are not many runners, especially that are going for sub 3 hours. I did a little bit of research from what I could, that if you finish top under 3 hours, you're top 1.5% in the world. All right, and the average runner, male's weight of someone that runs sub 3 hours is under 160 pounds.
Yeah.
So, and what do you weigh?
I was sitting at I'll never forget I think it was 2016.
Okay.
We did the Laurent challenge, and I will never forget. This was like a point in my life where I was like, holy, So we're in the old gym in the lobby, and Ashley is doing like the measurements and stuff, and she puts the scale out, and I stand on the scale, and I look down, it says 236 pounds. Wow. And at the time I didn't think anything of it. I felt, you know what I mean? And then I lost the weight, and I got down to like 210, 207, and I was like, oh my God, this is how, I'm supposed to feel. And then from that point on, I sat at like 205.
Okay.
How tall are you?
Like 5'11" and change.
Okay.
So I sat at like 205, and then now I'm at pretty much 200 flat. But there was definitely, so in this training, I did a 5K and 2 half marathons leading up to the marathon.
Okay.
And I definitely had like some imposter syndrome. Like I'm a big guy, but I'm not a big guy here. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Nobody's ever like looking at my strength numbers here. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when I stand at a race, I'm a big guy.
Huge guy.
You know what I mean? So I look around, I'm like, oh my God. Because then it plays with your head like, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yep.
You're not going to do this. So it plays tricks with your brain.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's probably some truth to it. Not to the respect of, can you go sub 3 hours? Like, I know for a fact you're going to go through 3 hours. I would bet my life on it.
Yeah.
But Hinshaw, when he talks about conditioning,
he did his programming for a little bit.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And he's very big on the best form of conditioning is running. And it's not because he likes running. His reason is pretty obvious. He says it's better than biking, it's better than rowing, it's better than skiing, because you are supporting your body weight while you're moving. When you're sitting on a rower, you're sitting on a bike. Skiing is kind of a little different because you're not really moving the legs that much, but you're sitting. You're not supporting your structure. So if you're 200 pounds, it actually helps you on those machines. I always tell my classes that if you're heavier, rowing and biking should be easier. Then it comes down to conditioning. Running, you have to support all of that body weight. Like, let's imagine, right, some of these guys that are 160 pounds, 170 pounds, if we told them to run their marathon with their 30-pound vest on, what do you think that would do? Now, maybe that's a little unfair because percentage of their body weight, but there's still the principle there that someone that is running at 200 pounds versus someone that's running at 170 pounds is doing a lot more power production over the course of 3 hours. It's an incredible margin. Has there been any thought in your head, because I still want to get into some of your future goals with this, after running your first one, after training, do you go down that path at all? Like, I go down the path sometimes if I need to be a little lighter if I want to compete at a high level. Do you go down that path at all for yourself?
I did. So going into it, my goal was to get down to like 194, 193. And I did get to I think I got to I was like 195 for a week or two, but I don't know if I didn't do it the right way or I did it too quickly, where I felt less powerful in my legs. You know what I mean?
Yep,
I didn't have that energy like I did. So then I think I did the marathon at like 199 or 200 pounds.
Okay. How do you feel elsewise? Flexibility, energy, sleeping, recovery. Has this been tougher or easier to recover from day to day than CrossFit?
The recovery was very, very hard. So the training consisted of a lot of speed workout. Like, I remember I came in March. I remember telling you, like, the month of March, I felt like I was 100 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's just because I was leading up to a taper. So I was kind of supposed to feel that way. But it was hard to recover. My legs were sore a lot. As far as like how I felt, I did, in not doing this kind of plays with your head too, because I do feel weaker and I want to lift and things like that. But yeah, my legs were like, I had to walk downstairs backwards a couple times.
I hear that. Yep.
We still had faith in you. We drafted you for our team.
I know. Don't even talk about my open performance. So quickly on that, I don't get embarrassed easily, especially like around my friends. And Adam Ramsden's my friend, and he judged me on the first open workout, and I can't even look him in the eye anymore. I think I had like How many wall balls were in that workout?
40.
I think he no-repped me like 15 times. Because like
He's a stickler judge.
Well, the squat just felt so foreign to me, and I was like, I never want to see Adam again. I was like, this is terrible.
That's hilarious. So, credit to Owen. He still comes in and does the open. When you saw the shuttle run burpee pull-up workout, you're like, yes, I'm primed for this.
Yeah. And then the thruster came, and I was like, oh my God.
Good old thrusters.
Yeah.
That's the one movement when Owen said, I'm still going to try to CrossFit maybe at the start of my marathon training, but I'm not doing any thrusters.
Yeah, no.
Because you've had some knee issues in the past. You and I have had a similar knee issue, kind of patellar tendon type issue, where I remember you telling me years ago, like if you sat in your car during work at night, it would start to throb.
Yeah.
And you'd have to get up and walk around a little bit. And I know exactly how that feels. I haven't had that in a long time either, but that sucks, that kind of pain. Did that play at all in the training?
No. So funny, that went away. I did a bike ride from the World Trade Center to Washington, D.C. for the Police Unity Tour. And after that bike ride, I never had the pain ever again.
Interesting.
I don't know what I did, but you bring that up, like injury-wise. When I started doing the marathon training, my wife and like a couple other people were like, you got to relax. Like, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But because of like the torture that I've been through at this place, like I knew that I was not going to get hurt.
Right.
My legs just like felt great. You know what I mean? So I do think CrossFit really, really helped me. Like the background helped me with injury prevention, 100%.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some stabilizer muscles that you train just from lifting weights and Olympic lifting and jumping that we do here, that there probably is some value in your background that helps you, as long as you don't overdo it and actually get an injury.
Yeah.
But I do agree, coming from a CrossFit perspective, that it was smart to take a step back from CrossFit to train for marathon.
I couldn't recover.
I think if you tried to do both, you wouldn't be singing that tune of being healthy and being able to recover.
I went into it thinking I would be, and then I quickly realized that my body just can't recover. Like, I couldn't handle it.
And I want to tie this to a CrossFitter that's out there listening, that if a muscle up is your goal, if getting stronger is your goal, if you really have a specific goal, and we have a lot of that this time of year. I want to get stronger. I want to get muscle ups or get my first muscle up. There might be sometimes you need to skip that day's WOD for the sake of your training session tomorrow. If you can't go into that training session that is meant to help build your muscle up or build your strength, even though you feel better mentally going through every single WOD and trying to crush it and being like, hey, I'm moving the needle because I'm, quote, 1% better, if you're going to constantly just take something out of your body every single time and you can't really go all in on that specific goal, I think it impedes you from actually getting that goal. So just think, like, let's say I have, I want to try to get my muscle ups, right? And tomorrow I have a session planned to work on my muscle ups and look all the strength development that is needed for it. If I came in and did today's bison WOD with 60 toes a bar, 30 chest a bar, and then I scaled the last one to 10 strict muscle ups, and then I come in and I felt great, got to see my friends, worked out, got that endorphin rush, right? And then I come in tomorrow and try to work on my muscle ups, it won't be there. And I think that's a good example of Owen saying he probably could have survived by doing his running and still coming to CrossFit. But his end goal of going sub 3 hours probably would have been a lot less likely to attain if he came in and CrossFitted every day, even though he would have been happier in the moment.
Yeah, correct.
So that's something that I think everyone could kind of take away from Owen's experience. Let's get into the actual race itself. All right, so it was this past weekend.
Yeah.
In New Hampshire, decent running weather. Did you actually run with your buddy? I saw a picture. Was that your buddy?
So I'll talk about him real quick. We grew up together. He was like, the best athlete in high school growing up, great athlete. But he did the typical, after college, all he did was lift. He never ran. Then COVID hit. We did the David Goggins 4x4x48 together.
Nice.
And he could barely run. But since that time we did that, he never stopped running.
Can you just tell the audience what the 4x4, just really quick, is it?
It was 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
So for 2 days straight, every 4 hours you go for a 4 mile run.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. But since then he kept doing, and this is his 4th marathon, I think. And he's been trying, he's been trying this goal since his first marathon.
Okay.
So that was who I did it with.
So you guys go up there. The race was on a Saturday?
Sunday.
When did you go up? Friday. Go see the course Saturday. Anything specific that you did the day before to prep? Like food-wise?
All the day before was torture. It was, so the taper was like kind of like 2 weeks.
Okay.
And you go from like high intensity workouts, like running, all this stuff, to slowing down, and your body starts to feel good, but your brain you're like losing it. You know what I mean? When you don't work out for a few days?
Yep.
That's how it felt.
Okay. Are you ready? Is this going to mess with you?
Yeah. So then the day before, I woke up, what did I eat? I had a bagel, I had oatmeal, I had pizza, I just ate carbs all day, which it worked, but you feel awful.
Yeah, you feel like bloated almost. Right?
Oh yeah, when I stood at the starting line, I felt like I was like 215 pounds.
Standing next to a bunch of 160 pounders.
Yeah. But so we got there Friday. We just hung out really. Saturday we woke up, we got our bibs, we went to the course. Then we sat on the couch for like 6 hours and just hung out.
Cool. That's awesome. Sounds like a little vacay. Day of race, you guys start together. Did you guys have a plan to stick with each other pace-wise?
No. So what happened was we both put down the same pace, and we got lined up next to each other by chance.
Oh, okay.
So it just worked out that way.
Nice. Did you guys stay with each other the whole time?
So this is where my inexperience killed me. Okay. So we were running, I'll forget what the splits were, but we were together for the first about 10 miles.
Okay.
And then I do what I usually do here, which always bites me in the ass. I started going a little faster. So I was running miles at like 6:36, 6:42, 6:42, 6:41, where I should have been running at 6:50.
Okay.
My friend Jim, stayed at 6:50. You know what I mean? I kept going because I felt amazing.
Yep.
And that...
so those 5 seconds a mile makes a difference?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because when I got to my slowest mile was 6:52 until mile 23, and then everything just shut down. And if I paced myself better from mile 10 to 20, I think it would have made a huge difference.
Okay.
Can you feel that pace even without looking at your time or watch?
Yeah, so that was when you get into the training a lot, like you learn to feel what marathon pace is, you learn to feel what tempo pace is, you learn to feel what a recovery pace is, basically without even looking at your watch.
What causes you to start to pace a little bit more? Is it leg pain? Is it breathing? Is it a combination? Is it lungs? Like, are you listening to your breathing cadence? What is it that you're really paying attention to?
In the run, it just, when you, like the training, it was a little bit different, but when you line up on that day after the taper, I felt like I was like flying. Like I felt the first 20 miles, I felt incredible. Like I was like singing DMX songs. Like people thought I was crazy. Like I felt unbelievable, but the inexperience, I should have known that it could change at any moment. So it changed at mile 23. You know what I mean? I felt like I could have ran 100 miles that way.
What was the when you said my body started to shut down, what was the underlying thing that really made you slow down? Was it the legs?
It was the legs. Yeah, it was the legs.
You could probably breathe your way through the end.
Yeah. It was the legs. That's what killed me. So it went from 6:52 being the slowest mile to, I think, 8:08, then like 7:30s, and then an 8:09 at the end.
So where are you mentally at that point? Like, do you start to feel this 3-hour goal start to slip away from you at some point? Like, does that make you slow down further?
So I thought I would still be able to do it up until the last mile, and then I realized. But I had this conversation with Alyssa. Like, going into this whole thing, I knew that if I hit it, it would be incredible. But I also knew how highly unlikely that was, but I was still trying my hardest.
Yeah.
So, like, my biggest fear was to try to run a sub-3-hour marathon and then run like 20 minutes off that. You know what I mean? But with the 3:02, like I was for my first one, I was thrilled about it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. That is, it's big time. I don't think we need to keep hammering like that's top 2% in the world if you did that. Sam, any more thoughts or questions for Owen in terms of like just mindset and what happened during the race? Because I kind of want to get into what his next steps are. So your next steps, you're 302, you're a couple minutes away. Do you start looking like how soon? Because I just know you. Mm-hmm. You probably already have one lined up in your head.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Do you look at a time frame first and say, hey, I need to recover, I need to train more, I need to kind of retrain my brain, retrain my body? You still have that like motivation, so you want to take advantage of that while it's there, right?
Yeah.
We see that a lot with people that compete or after the Open. You want to take advantage of that motivation, discipline that you currently are feeling. Do you go right back into training, or do you sit back and just wait and try to find that perfect time frame for you to run another race?
So my plan now is, I'm taking 2 weeks off completely. I'm not working out for 2 weeks. I'm going to Ireland on Saturday. So when I get home, So when I get back, it'll be May. And May, I'm going to be back here, and I'm going to do just recovery run. So I'm just going to run the whole month of May. I'm going to run at like an 8:30, 9-minute pace, just slow, keep the legs going, and then
if you need some partners, Sam and I can hang out. I don't know, only for a mile or two.
I was about to say that's a recovery pace.
And then I'm looking into something in September, so I would probably start up with the coaching again in June.
Sweet. Where would that be?
September. I'm looking at a couple different ones right now.
Does climate, weather, temperature factor in?
Yeah, the temperature in September kind of scares me, but it should be okay.
Okay. And then, I guess if you're training in the heat throughout the summer, you should be acclimated. You'll probably just have a little bit. Your coach will probably talk to you about have a little bit more attention on hydration.
I learned. Oh my God, sodium is.
Yes.
I was like a maniac with that.
Yeah, because you're a big sweater. You sweat a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal for someone that runs. Because these workouts, I don't know if anyone is fully appreciating how long is an average session for you. On the long side, like once you get to like the longer sessions, how long does that take?
So every week consisted of one long run on the weekend, usually anywhere from 14 to 20 miles.
So close to 2 hours.
Yeah, so it was 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It was always kind of, she would program like a progression run where I would start, my first mile would be like 7:30, and then try to negative split to the last mile being like a tempo mile, like at like a 6:20. So there was always a long run. There was always a track workout, and there was always a tempo run. The tempo runs were my favorite. It would be, like a 10-minute warm-up, so you're just kind of jogging for 10 minutes. Then it would be 2 miles at a tempo pace, so 2 miles from like 6:10 to 6:20. Then a 3-minute rest 4 times.
Wow.
So that would be like a workout.
So much.
Do you listen to music or anything when you run or no?
I did half my training without music and so I would do most of my runs without music, and I would do my recovery runs with either music or a podcast. Like I listen to your guys sometimes when I was running too. So like the slower runs, I would listen to stuff, and then the longer runs, I would listen to stuff. But if like the speed workouts and anything like an hour and a half, I usually didn't listen to music.
And were you keeping macros or keeping track of macros or anything like that during your training?
No, but I was eating very differently. I was eating a lot of carbs. I probably wasn't eating enough some days, especially when I was working and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was I was trying to eat healthy whole foods with a good amount of carbs.
And what kind of recovery treatments have you been doing this past year? Anything?
Well, so a couple of weeks ago, I wish I bought this, 4 months ago, but I was sitting on the couch and my legs I was in pain. I felt like I was 100 years old. And I'm looking at Instagram and I see this stupid ice bath that everybody's doing, right?
Yep.
And I see it and I'm like, I click on it and it's $100. I'm like, I just bought it.
Is it one of the inflatable ones?
Yeah. It's the best $100 I've ever spent in my life. So I've done it every single day since then, every morning. And
What's the process? You have to put ice in it, or does it cool the water for you?
So the hose water gets it to like 50s, and then you put some ice in it, it gets down into the 40s.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like
Explain what did it do for you?
The soreness went away. So I ran the marathon on Sunday. I've been doing it every day since. My soreness is completely gone.
Did it help you sleep? I mean, did you do it at night? The only time when
I do it in the morning, and it helps you sleep.
Okay. Because I'm big on like the Ramsden will talk about this sometimes too, but I do some either cold baths or contrast, hot cold.
Mm-hmm.
When I do it before I go to bed, I get a good night of sleep.
I do it right when I wake up, and I've been like, I usually wake up in the middle of the night once or twice to go to bed. Like, I don't wake up at all now.
That's awesome.
I don't know what it does to your. Adam could probably tell you the science behind it, but
Huberman's good on that. He's big on that stuff too.
How long do you sit in it for?
3 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
Usually just 3 minutes. On Monday when I got back, I sat in there for 5 minutes.
Nice. Yeah, to make sure you don't overdo it too. There's probably a limit on how much you should be doing. Yeah. I mean, I bet the next move for you, if lets you do it, is a sauna.
I would like that.
An own personal sauna. I've heard really good things about having both.
I would like that.
And there is a market for them now. They're not as expensive as they used to be. I'm not sure about your PSG bill after. But that's something that I would either look into personal if you would use it a lot, or there's a couple places. There's one right down the road that I've used multiple times when I was training high volume that it did make a big difference.
Oh yeah.
So just look into that as well. So. What is your training going to look any different? Okay, because you have you're like a case study now for your coach.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys did X, Y, and Z. You executed that plan.
Mm-hmm.
You got to there, and I think you got closer than you were anticipating. Like, I'm big on what you did. You set a goal that's a little beyond your reach.
I'm
huge on that.
I was definitely scared of it.
I bet if your goal was 3 hours and 20 minutes, you would have been 3:22. Like, I really do think the fact that you almost overshot the goal is what made you very successful in this race. So I think that was a really smart move. And does this change? Have you talked to your coach yet?
Your training for the next. We're gonna talk on the phone tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, so one thing I learned, like, when COVID hit and I was running a lot.
Yep.
it was doing the same crap that I do here, which is, again, immature of me, but I just always do it. I always go as hard as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was running as hard as I can every day, and if I ran 1 mile, like, in the 7s, it pissed me off.
Right.
Which is not good, you know what I mean? And then I started doing research, and you listen to all these people, and to get faster, you have to run slower.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in CrossFit. You know what I mean? Like,
if you want to get more work done,
you have to.
Yesterday's workout is a good example here, Sam. That 22-minute workout with the overheads told everyone if your goal really is to get the most work done in X amount of time, you do need to be slower.
Yeah. Don't crash and burn.
Right.
Yeah.
And we often associate, my lungs are burning, my legs are fried. I must be working hard, and you are.
Yeah.
It is. It's very admirable when people do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if the goal is performance centered, most need to slow down.
Yeah. So, and when I started, she would program like 2 or 3 runs a week that were at like a 9-minute pace, and I was like, I don't understand like why I'm doing. And then you read all this stuff and you learn. So I think the next move for me is I'm going to do more like 20-mile runs just at like a zone 2 pace. You know what I mean? Just to like.
Awesome.
I think Henshaw talked about coaching Matt Frazier and making him go slower, and he didn't understand that either.
Yeah.
What kind of Henshaw program did you pull for your training?
I signed up for, I did this, I want to say last summer. Mm-hmm. I think it was the Froning program, the Froning running program.
Uh-huh.
I forget what it was called, but it had Froning's name in it.
Uh-huh.
And it was basically just a lot of track work, and I loved it. You know what I mean? It would be like a mile for time, and then he would take that, or his company, whatever it was, they would take that number and base the workouts off of that, So it was just 800s, 400, like 30-second intervals, things like that.
How long does a pair of shoes last you now?
Ooh, good question.
So I went through 3 training shoes, and I ran the marathon in the Nike Vaporfly carbon shoes.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah, for the race they were awesome. Yeah. But I used Saucony for my training shoes. I used 3 pairs, I think.
Yeah. And how much were you used to get out of him before you're like, this is like...
I think around 250 to 300 miles, you start to feel it in your you start to get little aches and pains. You could tell when they start to go a little bit.
I think that's a good tip for CrossFitters is like I have really old running shoes, and I remember, was it maybe Marnie, one of the PT, was like, you got to get rid of these shoes.
Yeah.
You forget because you don't always run so much, but you get to, I think you should put a number on it and keep track and say, okay, after X number of miles, I got to change out my shoes here.
Yeah.
Even before you realize that it hurts.
Yeah.
Like you don't want it to hurt.
Yeah.
In that same breath, is there anything about your running technique, posture, foot strike that you work on, or is it just go run?
Yeah, I didn't really pay attention. I tried to focus on like breathing and like I didn't really get too sciencey with the heart rate stuff. But as far as form, not really, honestly. I've been running like my whole life pretty much. Yep. Like I said, I never really I used to just go on runs like no watch, nothing. Like I always loved running.
Yep.
So I didn't really fix anything.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's wrap this up. And do you have just any, kind of put you on the spot here, do you have any advice for someone that would want to maybe take this on? Because I do think that we work in this fitness industry, and as much variety as we see in CrossFit, I do think at some point it helps someone to just switch it up, whether it's pursue a Spartan race, a marathon, a different way of working out, bodybuilding, Olympic lifting, right? Like, I've been in this long enough to know that people just need to change sometimes. Do you have any advice for someone that is going to inevitably at some point get there mentally? It's just saying like, I need something other than CrossFit for a little bit. What would you guide them towards? Not specifically running or this or that, but just mentally how to approach it.
So for me, like CrossFit, I'm always going to be here. Like I'm never going to stop doing CrossFit. Like but if things are interesting to you, like you want to do a bodybuilding show, this, that, I would say just go for it, because CrossFit's still going to be here when you're done. You know what I mean? And
so go all in on it.
Yeah. And does it suck? Like, do I miss people here? Like my friends, and shout out to the Stable Boys.
Who?
And like I missed a lot of things from here. Like especially when I came to 23.2, I was like, oh my God, like I miss it so much. You know what I mean? Yep. But I think chasing a goal makes you a better person no matter what goal it is, and it makes you better all around. I think it changes your life. I always want to be setting goals, whether they're small or big or whatever it is. I think goals are just one of the most important things you could do as an athlete.
I love that. No, those are really good words of wisdom. Thanks, dude. Sam, anything else?
When are you going to do your marathon, Dave?
I did a half back in, I think it was like 2011. I used to run a lot too. I used to same thing as Owen, just like to do it.
So you will do a full at some point?
I never want to say never. I just don't like saying that word. But I like Owen, I'd have to walk away from training to compete to do a marathon. I just don't think I could do both. I don't think I have the ability or the time or the lifestyle to do both. But I would never say never. I think running a marathon is, to me right now, it does not look attractive. But I do think that it's probably one of the most respectable things, especially if it's a performance type, right?
Yeah.
Lifetime goal? You think you'll do it in your lifetime?
I think I'll do it in my lifetime, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think you could do, if you...
I'll probably get like 301 or something.
I think people could manage a marathon and CrossFit, definitely. I think when you add a number on it and a performance, then it comes like, okay, I need to scale it back on.
And I know for a fact that if I'm signing up, there would be a performance goal.
Yeah,
I don't think it'd be anywhere near 3 hours. My half was hour 50, and I thought I was going to die after. So to do that again right after, faster. But yeah, I mean, what I like about what Owen did, that is you have to put so much time, effort into it. Like, what do I always say about the competing here? Like, the process is what you have to like. It's not just the result. Yeah. Owen would probably be in the same mind space right now if he hit 259 in that marathon, because the process, he really put himself into the process, and I think that's what he got the most out of.
Now, did you watch the Boston Marathon this year?
I didn't. So we went to Boston Sunday night just to like celebrate and have drinks and stuff, and the energy there and just it's unbelievable. I definitely will be a part of it one day. I'm very excited. Like it's and with the history behind, with 10 year, it's the 10-year anniversary of the bombing and everything. It's just it's a cool thing to experience, and I'm excited one day.
Yeah, we'll see you there, dude. No question about it. All right, thanks so much, O-Dog. I'm going to have a story coming your way on my Instagram. Just be ready for that. We haven't done those in a while. But we'll see you at the gym soon, and can't wait.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.